Speaker, I yield back.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Courtney, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in a really sad milestone of really failure on day 18 of a partial government shutdown that's affecting 25% of the federal government. I'm rising today to share some of the real-life stories of some of my constituents in eastern Connecticut who are affected by this shutdown, which, again, today we are now officially 1 day past the length of the 2013 shutdown of 17 days. On Sunday, if this is not fixed and ended, it will actually be the longest shutdown in American history. Surpassing the 1994 shutdown. Mr. Speaker, I heard today, or I got a letter from James of Waterford, Connecticut. I'm a State Department employee assigned to the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan. I've been a DOS employee since 2003. I live and work every day in a dangerous environment in support of U.S. foreign policy. In Herat, Afghanistan in 2013, I was shot at and blown up in an attack by the Taliban on the U.S. consulate. In Belgrade, Serbia in 2008, I was trapped in the burning U.S. Embassy during protests against Kosovo independence while I protected and destroyed classified information. I support our government's policies in difficult environments, and I expect my government to meet their commitment to me and my family. Jeremy of Colchester, Connecticut, who works for the Coast Guard, please work to pass a bill to fund the government, including employee salaries of the Coast Guard, which are, again, part of the Department of Homeland Security. My family cannot go indefinitely without pay, and nor should they have to, and he's absolutely right. Kate of Chester, Connecticut, I am a U.S. Department of Agriculture employee. I've been an employee of the USDA for 15 years at the Plum Island Animal Disease Center. That's off the coast of Long Island Sound, where they do amazing research in terms of animal health and public health. If there is not a resolution and an end to this shutdown soon, my financial situation will force me to choose which bills to pay. Robert of Stafford Springs, Connecticut. He actually works for a regional craft brewery. I depend on the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, to approve license applications, formulas, and labels for beers, delicious beers, by the way, that we brew and sell. Every day that this passes without a shutdown ending is another potential day of lost sales. Ethan of Niantic, Connecticut, who works at the Coast Guard Academy, where they are building the leaders of tomorrow for this country. He's been part of the faculty for the last 11 years. Personally, without earning a paycheck, we will find paying for groceries, mortgage, utilities, childcare, and other essentials nearly impossible. As the government shutdown lingers on, I become increasingly concerned how it will impact my family. Brian Krampavitis, I met with him this morning in my office. He's one of the air traffic controllers at Bradley Field in Hartford, Connecticut. They have 40 employees who are working without pay, 10-hour shifts, making sure that the planes take off and land safely. And again, the stress level, because they have no support staff, is growing more and more intense for people who are doing incredibly important work, guaranteeing the safety of this country. Again, just as a way of a recap, last week the new Congress was sworn in. Within 2 hours, we passed H.R. 21, which fully funded the American government, which would have ended this shutdown last week. Again, not with a wild spending bill, but one that had already passed in the U.S. Senate with Republican votes. All Mitch McConnell has to do is bring up that bill, which they've already passed, send it to the president, and with the stroke of a pen, this would end today. And these people who, again, are doing the important work of the American would not have to be going through the stress and aggravation while they are doing great work to protect our public safety, to represent our country overseas, and to make sure that we have leaders of the future through institutions like the Coast Guard Academy. Again, we're going to hear a speech tonight. This thing apparently is going to continue to go on. It is unnecessary, it is pointless, and it is hurting the American economy and the American people. Mr. President, sign H.R. 21. We can have a debate about border security. There are some things that both sides will agree on in terms of making sure that we get more immigration judges to eliminate the asylum case backlog, to boost enforcement of port of entry where fentanyl and dangerous drugs are coming through. And we can have a serious debate about whether or not it's sensors and drones, boots on the ground, to make sure that those areas that are more remote need more protection. But lengthening this shutdown and hurting people who have absolutely nothing to do with the southern border is pointless and hurting people and hurting the U.S. economy. I yield back the balance of my time.
Chairman yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Utah, Mr. Curtis, for 5 minutes.